What's up, beautiful people? Welcome back. Light Warriors Unleashed podcast, episode 68. Now, Beth and I are free flowing in this episode, but we are chatting about medical systems. We're chatting about home births, midwives, the wild birthing process. We're talking about the medical system and how it's diminishing womanhood and femininity, and the whole entire mechanism of the portal way in the womb of femininity, spiritual expansion, what's happened to her since she actually did have a birthing at home, and how her child is different, and the experience within her kids, and all of this dynamic stuff. And we dive in this podcast to some beautiful conversation. And we're laying it out. We're talking truth about some of the conspiracy theories in the world, in connection with the medical systems. We dive into pure potency in connection with what this means for us, the two of us. I talk about my, future of what's being created in my own vortex with children and my lover partner that's dropping into my world. And we just hash out in a beautiful, expanded conversation. And this isn't just for the women. I think this podcast is actually important for men to listen to too, because it's not just like a solo journey that a woman goes through a birthing process, although the woman does birth the baby. It's the whole partnership elevation. It's the whole connection deeper within this partnership that men get to experience too. And they've got to be on board, right? They've got to understand what this feels like and is like, and we go into it. So I am just so grateful. Beth, as she says at the beginning, owns a canine agency in Washington, D.C. We met through a coaching group that we both are a part of, and I actually got to meet her in person when I went to Salt Lake City in September of this year of 2023. And it's just, we keep expanding together, and I am just grateful for my relationship with her, and that she approached me to have this conversation because of her experience with it all. And I just love, as you guys know, talking about things like this and talking about experiences this way that we all can gather knowledge from. So without further ado, here you go. It's Beth, episode 68, Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. Okay, this is going to be really fun. And I'm so stoked. Okay, wait, I forgot to ask you before I hit record. Would you like me to call you Liz, or would you like me to formally call you Elizabeth?
I go by Beth, actually.
Let's call her Beth instead.
I answer to all three.
Into the space of, and like I said to Beth before we hit record, I'm like, everything in my podcast is transparent. Even me not knowing my guests' names fully, it's transparent, like totally a thing, like into the space of, I'm like, how would you like me to call you today? Let's go through that first. But I'm excited about this episode. I'm excited to dive into this conversation because only if you've been in my tight world have I kind of divulged some of this craziness, quote unquote, in my life. And we're about to break this open in from your experience, what you've transitioned through. We're going to talk about like the portal way of the womb of the woman and what this actually means and all these things, because through what you've been through and your experience is bringing us into this conversation of like the alignment of divine feminine energy and like the potency of all that. So I'm just so stoked. So how about we start with this? Why don't you tell everybody like who you are and how many kids you have and like all the cool things that you feel like sharing to start off the episode with?
Yes. Okay. So I am a Washington State native, Pacific Northwest all the way. I have 4 kids with my hubby. We're a blended family. So 2 of them I birthed. The other 2 were meant to come to me. Like they're my children too. Like there's totally like a weird connection there. Anyway, we own
not
a
weird at all, by the way. Let's just put that out there. Not weird at all. We all know.
Some of my, those are my fucking kids.
Yeah.
Like we were meant to connect. That's how I feel.
Yep.
And we own a business together, Alpha Canine. We're dog trainers. We specialize in aggressive dogs, but we do all things dog. We also are like canine handlers. We do explosive detection, things like that. I don't even think you knew that, but yeah. And then since I had my daughter, which we'll get into kind of more of what happened, but I also opened a business with some of my witchy aunts and cousins, and we're making like holistic skincare and hormone balancing, or I guess not really hormone balancing, but things that don't disrupt your hormones, like everything we put on our body and we breathe in and all of that shit, especially in America, is like super toxic. So anyway, just kind of like shifting into that space where the things that are on our bodies and we're putting in our bodies aren't affecting our hormones, which affects our mindset and all of that stuff. So that's kind of who I am.
Yeah. And I love the conversation we're about to move into, because I've been in the natural holistic space pretty much all my life. Like my mom started looking at naturopathic ways of living when I was about 16, 17 years old. So I still grew up in the McDonald's, you know, Burger King kind of energy in my world. You know, we used to eat SpaghettiOs and like alpha, whatever those things were called, alpha bits or alpha bites out of the cans, or click, like just gross ass shit. Okay. Like I grew up in that time span, but it was okay to eat that shit at the time, although it wasn't really that healthy, but we were like, you're getting some nutrients, which we all know now there isn't any nutrients. So I come from that world and then moved into the more holistic world. And as I've grown in my spiritual connection, have really opened up the palette to live in non-toxic, to eat organic, to breathe in different air and water. And when we discussed, you know, moving through this podcast together, I was like, fucking right, let's talk about this. The medical system and women birthing babies in hospitals and this whole entire dynamic. Because a lot of you guys know, who've been here a while listening to this podcast, is that I have Indigenous roots. I have a very rooted energy. And if you see some of the photos coming out soon now in my brand, I express it almost physically now into the world. And bringing us back into this sovereignty, bringing us back into the reclaiming of who we are as humans and people. And your experience through this system, you know, through birthing two children into the world, has opened up your palette. But I want to start the kind of like at the beginning. So you get pregnant, you're in your early 20s, and you're doing exactly what they tell you to do. So tell us about that experience. Yeah, tell us.
I was a baby still, you know, looking back, I thought I was an adult then, but really it was like, this is the life that I grew up in. We went to the doctor when we were sick. We got our shots. Yep. We fucking got ice cream cones for getting our shots, you know, like that was just what we did. So that is how I approached having my son. I went to all my OB appointments. I listened to a different podcast. I don't remember what it's called, but she talked about how like doctors literally fucking fist you.
Yeah.
Like there's a foreign man coming into you telling you to get naked, and I'm going to shove my whole hand up you and touch your baby. Like, what the fuck? But anyway, that was totally normal for me in the beginning. And so it was just the regular sequence of events. Oh, we're going to weigh you. And if you're not weighing the right amount, then something's wrong with you. We have to do all of these tests because bacteria can harm your baby. Pretty much just fear-based, everything. You need to think that you don't have any control over what's going on and you're not capable of doing it yourself. And then fast forward to actually going into labor, I didn't want an epidural, but then it got like to be too much pain. And I was like, give me an epidural, but it was too late. And then my son, I don't go numb fast enough for their liking because, you know, it's all on their time frame. So they give me a second epidural. And then I'm so numb when he's ready to come out, he has to sit in the birth canal for an hour because I can't feel anything. So it was kind of all traumatic. I had no chest to chest tummy time. The umbilical cord was cut right off the bat. I didn't know any of this. Like it was just how
this is a standard procedure. This is exactly how they do life in the medical system and how it shows up. And this is what we think is okay. Like women over the last 50 years pretty much have been in this, and maybe even longer, probably in the 40s. I think this really started becoming a thing where it started to be ingrained in us that this was the only way.
Yeah.
Right. So if you look back on this experience, so without knowing what you were about to go into with your second child 7 years later, and without all the other dynamics of what you know, But just looking back at it, did it feel normal for you to be doing this? Like even at the time, you probably felt like this was kind of weird or whatever. Like what were you feeling? Do you remember?
I just felt like they made me feel like I didn't know shit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like, I just followed their lead. Everything they said. It wasn't ever like a choice of anything. It was just like, this is what we're doing and don't say no or we'll cause a fucking ruckus or whatever. Right. So it wasn't like super uncomfortable for me. It was just like, do what you got to do, I guess.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, if we think about this, and I know this is going to be what we're moving into in the conversation, like women in the even the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, you know, literally had babies without support. Maybe they had support of people and they were bringing in, you know, water to help shift and stuff, but they were literally birthing kids. They never went to doctors. They never did any of that stuff. They were birthing children. And all of a sudden, the pharmaceutical companies came into play and we have this whole infrastructure of medicinal support, which, you know, serves us sometimes when we're in accidents and emergency types of scenarios, but it completely diminishes the light of this birthing process. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not anything holy or divine. It's a terrible experience.
Yeah. Well, and you think about it. So like you're in this bright ass fucking room with all these huge ass lights that are manufactured by humans, right? They're created, this whole infrastructure of coldness, this white walls, and your baby who's been safe inside of your womb for 9 months and coddled in, all of a sudden comes out to these fucking lights. Like it's a traumatic experience for these kids to be coming and birthing into the world. And we're wondering why we have trauma in the world and why kids are afraid or why we have embedded fear in us because we were birthed through that system too, right? And it's like the second they come out, we're literally creating abandonment issues. We're creating all different kinds of things just by some of the procedures that are happening in the hospital.
Yes.
Yeah. And so fast forward a few years, okay? You do the system, you follow the rules. They probably inject your baby with a whole bunch of fucking vaccines that they tell you that they have to do because it's the law when it's not fucking the law, you know? All the things because you're trying to be a good mom, right? Like that's all you know.
Yeah.
So you started feeling into stuff, you started moving through, and then all of a sudden you're pregnant again. Now what happens? So you're pregnant. Okay. 7 years later, right?
Yes. Hold on one second. Can you get those dogs to stop barking for me, James? Thank you.
I can't even hear them.
You can't? Okay, good.
No.
They're like howling. There's like 30 of them back there. Anyway,
it's all good. Remember, we're at work. She runs a canine training business. I'm like, I can't hear them, but maybe my producer will hear them. It's all good. But like she'll figure it out. Yeah.
Okay. So before I got pregnant, like it was kind of my goal. Yeah. Like I had learned about this wild birth process or whatever. And I was super into it, whatever. So
tell us about it. What is the wild birth process? Like what were you researching? So like you were considering having more kids, right? And so you started to do research. Why did you start to do research? Tell us about that process.
Actually, it was the COVID-19 pandemic really like changed my entire view on Western medicine because it was so forceful and it was so full of fear and it was a bunch of fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Especially in Washington, it was like really, really, really hardcore Nazi shit. And like whatever. And so it changed my entire view on everything. Yeah. So I was like, I never want to bring my children to the doctor again. I don't want to go to the doctor. The only reason I'm going to go is if I break a leg and it's the bone is sticking out of my body. Like that's the only reason I'm going to the doctor. So I was listening to, do you know who Kim Anami is?
Nope.
She's really freaking out there and aggressive, but her podcast is called Orgasmic Enlightenment, I think.
Okay, cool.
You should look it up anyway.
Yeah.
So this like whole wild birth came in, which I technically didn't have one because I had a midwife, even though she wasn't like helping in any way or whatever. She was just there. Yeah. But I didn't go to the midwife even until I was like 6 months pregnant. I didn't have any checkups. I was just like no, my body knows what's going on. I know if something's wrong. I know if I'm good, whatever.
Yeah.
And just to tap into that like intuition and listen to it instead of think that someone else that doesn't know me or my body knows what I need. So
it's a powerful statement. And I really want you to like feel that again, is that we've been conditioned to think outside of ourselves that someone else has all the answers, when our actual bodies, our physical forms, our intuition, everything is inside of us. So that was really powerful. So yeah, so like go back to the wild thing. I want to know, what did you find out? Like, you're listening to this podcast, you're like hearing about this.
Yeah. The podcast was really just like, I didn't do that much research. I was just like, fuck this, I'm doing it my way. That's kind of how I am.
Yeah.
But like, it wasn't like a ton of research bringing me to this decision of having a wild birth. It was just like, oh, that makes complete sense when she was talking about how doctors are pretty much molesting these pregnant women in an office, and the men are standing right there watching the doctor molest their pregnant wife or whatever. And it's just like, hearing it in that perspective totally just like switched flip the switch for me. Like, I will never do that again.
Yeah.
And that was that's just kind of how I am. I'm all or nothing. It's not like I'm sitting on the fence with stuff. So wild birth is just no interruption. You're just like, you know what you're doing. Your body knows what it's doing.
Yeah.
If there's something wrong, then we figure it out.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's how I.
So you're listening to this and you're considering having another baby, and you're like, if I have another baby, I'm going to do it this way. Is that correct? Like, that's what you decided. Yeah. So you find out you're pregnant.
Yep.
Right. And then what goes through what goes through your mind? So now you're like, okay, I'm pregnant. Now what?
Yeah. I was really weird about even being open about it because I had a miscarriage a few years ago. And so I kept it hush hush for a long time. And my partner was like thinking I was ashamed and didn't want the baby and whatever, but it was really just like me protecting my heart, because telling someone you're pregnant and then telling them you're not is the hardest fucking thing ever.
I can imagine. Yeah.
And so that is like, that it was really kept quiet for like 4 months. And then I was telling people, I still hadn't talked to anybody professional, like a midwife or anything. And then Casey was just like, okay, like, come on, let's go, someone, whatever.
Yeah. Your partner was like,
but for his comfort, because he was like, I'm not going to know what to do if this baby comes out with a cord wrapped around its neck or whatever. So we need someone helping us. Yeah. And his first 2 kids were done with a midwife too. So it wasn't really foreign to him.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah.
And then we just go and get checkups, and all she does is measure my stomach and tell me everything's perfect and whatever. So that's kind of how it was. She gave me all of the choices of like, well, you can, what is it? There's something Washington State does where you send in a swab or something for, or maybe it's a blood draw. I just fell off my wall.
It's all good. Someone's communicating.
Blood draws to see if your kid is going to have autism or Down syndrome or whatever. And I'm like, hell no. I'm not going to bring that stress into my life prior and put it on my baby. I'm going to love it either way. Yeah. And just like, whatever. So I opted out of every fucking thing. No vitamin K, no vitamin D. I took prenatals that weren't prescribed to me. I found the holistic ones and I did whatever I wanted to do. And my baby is like, she came out with like a knowing of things, where my son, it seemed like he was traumatized. He had colic for a year. Yeah. This baby is fucking perfect. Yeah. Like, and not just because she's mine, like, because she has just been really stable since she came out. Yeah. And I think that it's totally,
I really believe in, and obviously you know this about me, but like I really believe in all of this, and like and stepping into the space of this whole thing. So you had the baby though in your living room in a birthing tub, right? So you did it through like the pool scenario, like the thing that we're actually seeing quite a few people do. Were you on all fours when you birthed, or were you on your, like, how did you birth out?
So I was on all fours, and it wasn't like I was in, like, I had a lot of back labor, so I was in and out of the pool trying to figure out what was comfortable. And
Yeah.
Casey was trying to be so sweet and like rub me, and I was like, don't fucking touch me.
I know. I just need some space right now to figure some shit out, okay? Like,
and my midwife was like, sometimes touch is a little, she's like being super gentle. She's like, sometimes touch is a little too stimulating for them when they have a lot of shit going on. And I'm just being a super bitch to him like the whole time. I was only in labor for 4 hours total. Like we went Christmas shopping the day that I had her. Like we did all of our Christmas shopping the same day. And I was like, okay, we're just gonna go home. And my water broke on the way home, and then here she comes. But I was sitting down when I birthed her, but I was actually just sitting down, and I didn't know, like, it was an involuntary push. It wasn't like, oh, here it is, I'm gonna push. It was like contraction, and then all of a sudden I'm pushing her out.
Yeah.
And it was super fast, like 2 pushes, and
it's done.
here she comes.
Yeah. So like when we consider, obviously you don't have a reference point, like, well, you do have a little bit of a reference point to when your son was birthed, like the pain that you felt with him at the beginning when they gave you the epidural to the pain that you were in. Because I really feel, and this is what I'm being directed to say right now, like intuitively through guidance of spirit, is like, I think the pain is less even in the situations of like the mid-birthing and home birthing than it is in the hospital, because we're fucking all pumped up and we're like in this infrastructure that's trying to contain us. Would you agree to that? Is that something like, yeah?
Absolutely. And I didn't even get the epidural because I was in so much pain. This is funny, but I had like 30, not 30, but it was probably like 15 people, family members in the damn hospital room with me, which was totally a bad choice. They were eating Taco Bell and it made me nauseous. And I was like, I'm either going to cut these motherfuckers or I need an epidural.
Oh my God.
I really like high pain tolerance. So but it was different. Like I felt completely out of control, and they had, in the hospital, they had this stupid thing strapped on to see how strong the contractions are. And you're just like watching it and you're like anticipating everything. And so with Freya, when I was in my house, it was like gradually getting worse and worse. And right before she came, I was like, this hurts. Take me to the hospital. I'm done with this shit. And my midwife said, well, if you're at that point, we don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Like, coming. She was literally pretty much like, sit the fuck down.
Yeah, I love it. Well, and it's like, it's really hard. And I think like, obviously I've never had a baby yet in this experience, in this lifetime anyways. But it's one of those things that it's hard to describe to other people that have never had babies, including men, about what this actually is. It's a whole thing.
And honestly, pushing didn't hurt at all. It was not that. It was like the last few contractions, and it wasn't even that much pain. It's just like a bunch of like pressure. Yeah. Like squeezing.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like, it was weird. I kept telling her like, I feel super weak and drowsy. And she's like, that's your body creating this hormone cocktail, is what she called it. To make you relax. And she like walked me through the breathing and everything, because if I wasn't breathing deeply in and out, then it was just gonna kind of make it worse. Yeah. You know, when you're like tense, you stop breathing and you breathe short in breaths and things like that. So it was really weird. Like I was just like drowsy as fuck, just like wading through. And in some ways you could say it was not really orgasmic. I don't think I'm at that point. Some women say that. But it was like otherworldly for sure. Yeah.
So let's get to the like physical stuff. So the baby comes out, then what happens like next? So she's in the water, right? In the water.
Yep. So I pushed once and the contraction stopped. So I stopped pushing, and she was like, honey, she's underwater. You have to keep pushing. And I'm like, that makes sense. Okay, let's not drown my fucking baby. Yeah. So she comes out, and I'm actually like pushing too fast. She's like, if you push, you have to slow down because you're being a champ right now, but you're going to tear if you don't slow the fuck down. So But then she comes out and she has a ton of hair and they're like, oh my gosh, look at all of her hair. And I'm just being a rotten bitch to everybody. And I'm like, I can't say it. And they're like, well, look. I'm like, I have a huge stomach. How am I supposed to see? Anyway, she comes out. She has this like full head of black hair.
Yeah.
And I'm blonde.
Yeah.
And whatever. And so it was crazy. But she literally came out and I swear to you, she lifted her fucking head and looked around.
Yeah.
Like she wasn't this limp baby that is just like useless. This kid has been strong from the day she came out, lifting her head, looking around, whatever. And she sat on me for a good while, probably 10, 15 minutes. And then once like, the cord blood was all drained and everything, then we snipped the umbilical cord because I wanted it to stay attached for as long as possible. And she was like, well, the time frame is different for everyone because you can see when the cord is empty. It's completely like there's no blood in it. So at that point, what's the point in keeping it attached? So, and then I got out of the pool. I went to the bathroom and put my diaper on and went to bed. Like, it was incredible. I didn't have to do this like 24-hour waiting period of let's sit at the hospital and be super uncomfortable outside of our home. I just went home or went to my bed. And then I went to bed with my baby. And that was it.
And that's all. Yeah. So like, from a spiritual sense, and this would make sense to anybody really if they think about it, it's like the woman's womb is a portal way. So if you think about it, a baby births through the portal that was created through energy and obviously the physical forms, like we know how that's created, but like a new soul comes into the earth through the woman's portal. So we open up. When we birth children, we also have creative abilities in the woman's womb. So manifestation happens, you know, when a woman orgasms, like when that's like the highest state almost that we're connected to divinity through their physical form. We can create shit, you know, from manifesting through orgasms and through this beautiful portal way. So you've done this experience, you know, through the potency of what was aligned for you at the time. Maybe now you would do it differently. If you had another kid, let's say, maybe you'd be like, okay, like I'll talk to what my experience is going to be too in a second, but like, maybe you would be like, okay, I'm not doing it in the pool. Like I'm going to go hang from a tree like Colleen's going to do when she fucking has a kid, right? Like, you know, it might be different based on what you know, but like at this moment of time, you've got this really rooted baby. You've got this connection. She didn't go through the trauma. She came out in water. There wasn't any drugs involved. None of this stuff, none of the traumatic things. Nobody else is putting their hands up. She is only connected into you and obviously your husband probably, because I'm sure you had sex while you were pregnant, because like that's totally a thing. And that's the only experience that she's had. So over the years, like what have you seen? Like you mentioned it a little bit, but like what's transitioned for you even doing this? I just want to hear it. Yeah. All of that.
It's been a wild ass year. So, in all transparency, a week after, Freya was born, Casey went to prison. It was kind of, like it was planned so he could be there when she was born, but like he got drunk a few years ago and kicked in a door and they called it burglary. I don't know, like alcohol creates a whole monster in some people, and that's just how it is.
Yep.
It happened right before COVID hit, so all that shit was processing, whatever. So I've done this he's still gone. He is home in a couple of months, but I've done this all alone for a year, and it really like put me into this position of like, although I would have loved him to be home, obviously, I've made every single choice for this baby. And in that, like I said, I feel like it opened a portal to some divine shit. Yeah. And the first thing that I'm like recalling, I feel like I went into this like dark space for a while. He was gone. I don't think it was postpartum anything. I don't think it was that. I think it was kind of this awakening and maybe a death of something else. I had a spirit come into my house, and I we grew up in like a native based religion, kind of, also like sort of Christian, but I'm not really into that, but just like spiritual energy, smudging, all of this stuff.
Yep.
So I recognized that there was something in my house, but I've always been fearful of it. It got so strong that like I didn't live in my house for a while.
Wow.
Like I was fucking terrified. And my kids, I don't know if it was them, the spirit talking to them as well, or if it was just them like absorbing it through me. But like to the point of my phone turning on in the middle of the night, playing Save Me by Jelly Roll, and like a different one about death, and like it always popped Pandora open, and it was like playing some weird shit.
Yeah.
And I would almost get to the brink of like falling asleep, and I'd hear these drums playing. Like it was serious shit.
Yeah, poltergeist. I've cleared these energies numerous times in houses.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. So I bring a medium into my house is the story of it. And she's like, comes in and she's super cool. We're talking and she's like, so tell me about the shape of this being, this energy. And it's something that both my oldest not birthed son says. He says it's a dude like this. Yeah. And then I'm telling her that I'm seeing the same thing, but it was like I didn't say anything to him before he saw that. Anyway, this bitch comes into my house with that shape drawn on her paper.
Yeah.
And I'm like freaking out.
Of course, mediums see spirits, so they can tap in everywhere. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. And so we go through like a bunch of stuff talking about like my traumas that are like driving my bus. They're driving my life, all of these things. Anyway, we narrow it down to it's my stepbrother that passed away in a car accident. He's in my house. And she says, you have medium capabilities because you already knew every single thing I asked you.
Of course.
And so she's like, he wants you to cross him over. And I'm like, this is super far off on left field. I have no fucking clue what the hell you're talking about. So she walks me through it anyway. Because he's still fucking with me and my kids. And he's in like complete turmoil. And it wasn't anything negative or anything. Like my dogs didn't have any issues with him. My daughter would talk to him. She'd look up at the ceiling and laugh, like all of this stuff. So anyway, I go upstairs because this is where his spirit is upstairs. And I go and I close my eyes and I cross him over.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like walking you through it. I mean, I'm sure it's different for everyone. But pretty much I just walk.
We all have tools that are aligned in our blueprints, right? So each of us uses them different. That's why I always have a program every single year that I teach called Protect Your Sovereignty, to teach people how to find out their clearing and protection protocols, because we're taught protection protocols in some way, shape, or form from passed down, the sage stuff that you spoke about, which used to work. But now, because the energy is so accelerated, we all need to step into our own blueprint. So exactly, you have your own blueprint. That's yours for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that started showing up. You started maybe owning a little bit that you have these capabilities and stepping this. What else? Like what else have you seen over the last years, like transpire, because the portal is open within you? Just saying.
So I have this weird fear that I have to shut all of my blinds at night because something's watching us. And the medium says, well, the way our house is set up, it's in the middle of this, like, there's like a circle of hills around our house with trees. Yeah. And she said, you live in a vortex.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ooh. For me, I'm like scared shitless of all of this at that moment. And she's like, you have to take dominion over it. So now I just exist with all of these energies and I can notice when they're familiar and I can talk to them. I think I have more of like a clairaudience thing. Yeah. Where like I don't necessarily see shapes or anything. I hear them talking to me and I have conversations with them. Yeah. Which has like led me down a path of not really having like spells or anything, but more just like rituals of like, maybe if I speak with my ancestors, they can help guide me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I started going to therapy, which is something I'm terrified of. Sean told us to do something scary, and that's what I did.
Oh, look at you go. We're part of a coaching group together. That's how Beth and I know each other. And then we got to meet in person in Salt Lake City in September. And she was like, "Hey, are you Colleen?" I was like, "Yeah." Like, that was so fun.
Yeah. And therapy has just brought up a whole bunch of demons because I have a ton of trauma from this life too. Like,
Of course.
Which everyone does, but yeah.
Welcome to the human experience, like
Yeah.
that's really what it is.
Yes. And really just like, I don't know, I talk with my daughter, not through verbal, but like we have conversations, and
Telepathically. Yep.
yeah, he's really powerful. And we've gotten into using crystals for protection and certain herbs for things. And I don't know. But then I talked to my mom about it, and she's like, this is a family trait, baby. I just kept it from you because her mom made my mom scared of it. My grandma was like scared of these ghosts or whatever. So my mom protected us from it.
Yeah.
And she's like powerful as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell, mom? And so I like stay with her. That's where I was staying when I was too scared to be in my own home, is with my mom. Which we had like, my childhood wasn't always with her. Like, she was gone for some years and whatever. So it's really weird to like connect. When I had my daughter, this is when this connection like came about.
Well, you activated the ancestral lineage line, right? So if you're in my field, which you obviously are, because we're here together right now, we are the warriors, the light warriors that are meant to heal our ancestral lineage line and bring back in that calibration, whatever that is. Each of us is different. All of us have different frequencies, different missions, different purposes on earth, but we're here to remember that and to bring it back into play. And I'm not surprised you brought up ancestral stuff, because it's really moving through my field. Like, I'm leading my first live ancestral circle on Saturday here in Costa Rica, and I haven't taught any of them live ever. They're always been on Zoom. Yeah. And part of me is like, oh my God. But the other part of me is like, it's all good. Like, you got this.
It's like how it should have been. That's how it's always been.
Yes.
Like, this new technology obviously helps us reach a broader space, but I can only imagine how fucking powerful that's going to be.
It's like, it's going to be really cool. So we're going to heal some ancestral lineage, and then I'm going to bring in the ancestors of the land to work through my voice and my drum to activate them in a new level of energy. So like, what's going to happen? I don't know, because I never know until I drop in, and then we move through the experience. But I'm also doing one online in December called the Reunion of the Ancestors, and bringing in all the ancestral lineage lines into that space of that circle. And I'm just like, I can't make this shit up, like, it always seems like when I follow like surrendering and I follow and trust divine, it all aligns in all the fashions of how we need to move through the world. It's just crazy. But like, for you, that movement of you making a choice to midwife for this birth actually, and I guarantee it was your daughter that spoke through you to be like, look, I really need you to do this because I need to stay open for all the things I need to do on this earth. And if we go to the hospital, you're going to fuck me up for a while, and it's going to take me a lot longer to get some shit in order because of the fact that you made that decision. And we don't realize it sometimes, like, we're being spoken to all the time. So you making that choice helped keep that portal, plus accelerate like, you don't even know where you're headed yet. Like, it's going to be really fun to see how, and I can see some of it because I have also the gift of prophecy, but I'm like, I can't wait to watch it unfold for you.
Yeah. It's weird because I'm like, I totally agree with that. She is wise as fuck.
Oh yeah,
like,
for sure.
Like, she's so powerful. But anyway, kind of wanting to like step into more feminine, because even like my entire life has been driven by masculine because I've had to be that to survive. And now I'm stepping into this space that I don't know. It's super foreign, and surrender is really terrifying for me.
Can imagine. But I get it.
I feel like a shift coming because even my job is masculine. Like, everything about my job is masculine. And I'm starting to approach it a little bit differently because it's like, this is what I feel I should do instead of just like, this is someone else told me to do it this way.
Right.
Like leading with that and leading my children like that. And I don't know, but the ancestral trauma, I mean, it's fucking time to get rid of some of that shit because my family had some heavy, heavy, heavy shit.
Well, and it's twofold, right? So we're dealing with the actual lineage bloodline of our actual physical bodies. And we're also dealing with our ancestral lineage lines from all of our past lives and soul groups. So it's not just this linear bloodline. It is all of it encompassing together. I've been doing a lot of work in this lately with one-to-one clients, and it's like, it's showing up. So we cannot step in fully into our light until we heal the dynamics of all of that too. And whatever's coming up for you, people have fear, they have doubt, they have chaos, they have struggle, they have lack, they have all the things. And those are the key pieces that are going to allow their light to shine brighter for them to create, move through, and expand into, right? It's cool to think about. It fucks up our brain sometimes because we're like, how is that even possible? But it is like, it's just a thing.
And it's just kind of been stolen from us, like, especially in America, or America or whatever. Like, we've been taught to be useless, and to not trust ourselves, and to trust leaders or whatever. But every other culture, like, it's not that.
No,
it's not that at all. And none of us honor our ancestors, like we weren't taught to, and that is what is causing all of this like chaos, spiritual warfare, whatever you want to call it, where like we're just trying to live and do what's right, but we have no way to communicate with anybody else. Like, we're just here alone. These fucking flies.
And I just got back from Guatemala. Like I said to you, right? There is no hospitals around where we were. Like, so these women birth and their whole lifestyle are old, ancient, traditional. This is how they do life. Like we had women in jelly shoes walking up the mountain beside us, carrying fucking baskets full of fruit or wood or whatever it was that they needed to get back up the mountain to serve their community with. And they weren't complaining about fucking getting up the mountain. This is what they do. So if we bring it back into the birthing process of a woman, they don't have the drugs. They have the herbal tinctures. They've got the community of women that have done it before, and they step into their space and they move that energy through. And we're seeing this and we're remembering this, and it's coming through for us to reclaim our roots, to get back into farming, to get back into the connection to the earth, to get back into allowing the sun to be on our bodies. Like, all this sunscreen bullshit that they're telling us put on is actually what's creating the cancer. It's not the sun, because the sun is the most potent fucking healer that will actually heal the body. I'm watching my eyesight change and shift. So like, when I go out, I only wear one contact now. And some people think I'm crazy, but I'm like, I swear to God, my left eye is being healed. And then once it heals, then I will stop wearing my contact in my right and do the same thing to the right. And I live in Costa Rica, right? So it's a bit different for me. I'm 9 degrees from the equator. And in North America, you guys are dealing with a lot of shit. Like, they're distorting the fucking energy. They're distorting the skies. They're distorting all of it. And we spoke a bit about the medical system and all the stupid bullshit that's going on. But yeah, please, I know you have something to say to this. Go for it.
I don't know. I just have goosebumps everywhere. But the fucking, yes. Yes. Everything, yes. I don't know.
And that's what's happened. And they've created this distortion for us to think the more you do in your life, the more busy you are, the more that you are connected to society and you're a good person. When it fucking fucks with all of the actual like spiritual side to us, when we drop into ourselves and breathe and be quiet, that's where we get the energies, right? Where we pull away from the systems like the medical system. And not to say that they're not valuable in some way, shape, or form, okay? Like, they're there for a reason. But 95% of any disease we can move and heal through our bodies if we consciously make a decision to, and support the body to move it through and move the energy through, period. That is a thing. And it's like, we've been taught to be so disconnected from ourselves because then we can be controlled. right? That's what the whole mechanism is all about. And I love that we stepped into this conversation about, you know, the birthing process and like women reclaiming this femininity, right? That's in us. It's already ingrained in us. If you're a woman in this world, you know how to do this. You've just fucking forgotten.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're being forced to forget.
Oh, huge. Yeah.
Like I'm off in freaking la la land with every person I talk to. It's almost like you meet these few and far between people that really understand like the force that as a woman you have to like make these choices. And as a man, like the government is creating beta males on purpose.
Yeah.
Fucks up everything.
Yeah.
Like knock it off. But,
well, that's
I don't know.
Imagine the men being in their alpha though. Like I literally just listened to podcast episode 62 with Darren J. Brooks from the actual Lion's Den, who is like actually has communities of men, and they're reclaiming the alpha male energy of like helping men remember their strength. We need the masculine strength in this world. We need that energy, as well as we need the divine feminine in her flow, in her intuitive connection, in her expansion. We need both of these mechanisms that are at play, right? And both are important in the space of this creation, of this expansion within all of us, right? But yeah, just so cool. So cool.
There's like, we could go for hours on all that.
Oh, we totally could. And I'll make sure I tell everybody. So, because I think this story is important in connection. Like we talked a little bit about it before I hit record, but about 6 months ago, Spirit dropped in that I'm supposed to birth 2 children into this earth experience. And I went, guys, like, you know, when I was 18, I was convinced I was going to have 2 kids. And I'm like, I'm going to have 2 kids and this is what it's going to be. And then at 25, I was like, fuck the kids. I'm not having any kids at all. And now I was in a space of like, if my partner, when he drops in, which he's coming soon, desires kids, I'd be in for them as long as I don't diminish myself, meaning I still have my mission on earth. I still have to get my mission in. I will be in my feminine. Okay. I won't be in my strong masculine because I also can go there just like you, like the hustle energy. And plus your man's in jail right now. So like you have to hold all the avenues of everything. So I get why you feel disconnected from your femininity. And I will still be a mom and an amazing mom, but I also still need to be Colleen, the soul mission activator, and helping people move through this. That's my number one. Well, now I'm being told, well, you have 2 number ones. I'm like, okay, fuck. Right.
Yeah. If you let go of that, then you show your children that that's what you do. Give it up and you fucking walk away from it because you have other additions that are totally going to make you more powerful. Like, no, I can do all of it and I can hold it all. And there'll be someone that will drop into my life that will take care of the kids, you know, a couple days a week or whatever it is during the times that I just have to tighten up some things. That's all. Where instead of Colleen flowing all the time, I have to be like, you could flow between 9 to 4, you know, like whatever it is, right? Like I get that part, but I was like, oh, fuck. So this dropped in and I went, are you sure? Like, this is my first thing I always do. Are you sure? Like, is this really a thing? Like I argue with spirit, right? Sometimes because, you know, I'm human and they're like, yes, it's a thing. And I speak light language. I activate through galactic energy. Like I channel in all these deities and stuff. And they're like, your children will speak light language right from birth. Like they will come out speaking it. Their light is needed. They have their own missions. They need you as a mother to keep them activated that way. And I went, fine. Okay. So this was 6 months ago. Now I still don't have a partner. So I don't have kids as of yet. And at one point in time, like, and my period's super regular. I don't even like calling it that. Like I call it like my moon phase is like super regular. And I was late by like 2 weeks. And plus I hadn't had sex. So I was like, dude, is this gonna be like Mother Mary scenario where like a fucking baby's gonna drop in? Because I channel Mother Mary and I channel Yeshua, like Jesus' higher self. I'm like super tight with Mary Magdalene. I'm like, this could be a thing. And like, imagine like this would happen to me because this would just totally happen to me. Anyways, I wasn't pregnant, obviously, but I'm like, okay, so like, what does this really look like and feel like? And like I said to you before we jumped on the call, I'm going to birth these children in the wild, like in the wilderness. Like women used to hang from the tree
right? Where you would hold on to 2 ropes with your hands, wrap them around your wrists, and literally hang almost from the tree to birth the child into the earth. So right away, the first connection they have coming out of the womb is earth grounding energy. They're connected back into the wholeness of what holds us actually on earth. And I'm like, I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be the fucking crazy chick, naked hanging from the fucking tree, sliding kids out onto the fucking earth. You know?
Well, and actually, like, visualizing it sounds like ease, which
Yeah.
sounds fucking nuts, but like the positioning and the power that comes from your arms, like it's ease and it's flow. Like, it makes complete sense. Instead of like laying your ass on the ground and throwing your legs in the air.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I did, but for my son, that's what I did.
Yeah, because that's what they teach you.
Like, you're fighting gravity at that point.
Yeah.
And
like, let's just let him flow through the experience. Now, when I was a kid, I used to always say I'm going to have twins. So I'm really hoping that that's actually a thing. And then both of my kids are out. That'd be amazing. And it would be probably Gemini's. My whole body's in goosebumps. Like, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm down for twins. Okay. Like, I can handle that. You know,
what if, so this just came to my brain.
Tell me, medium, what do you have to say?
Maybe this human that you're going to meet is already going to have these children and they're just yours.
Yeah, no, I feel like I'm going to be birthing them. I feel like the whole process of it all needs to be really connected into the energetic line of the bloodline for some reason.
That makes sense. It was just something that was there.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause like, and he can have kids or whatever. And that's just the addition to that space of time. But I really feel like I don't even know if he has kids. I don't feel like he does. I feel like he really wants them. And like, I'm 42 for those that don't know. And some people are like, you're 42. How are you going to, I'm like, dude, like we're talking about alternative shit. We don't believe in the fucking medical system that says stuff. Plus my kids are not going to go to fucking normal school. Okay. They're going to be, I'm not even homeschooled. They're going to be earth schooled. Like, they're going to learn the things that are actually necessary in life instead of the stupid bullshit that some of the stuff our kids are being taught in the school system, which is a whole other fucking gamut we can talk about. But like, I'm going to bring it right back to the purity of ancient times, to the purity of what this body is capable and holding. And one of my girlfriends here in Costa Rica is really holistic. So I already know, I'll be like, dude, you're going to be at the birth. Like, I already see you there, like just supporting, like in whatever way. Like, I don't even feel like I'm going to have a midwife. Like, I feel like this is going to be purely me and earth energy. And I'm going to call in all the fucking energies that I usually work with and be like, I call them the collective. And I'm like, guys, we were birthing a baby today. Let's fucking go. And I'm just going to keep listening to spirit and just trust in the process of everything. Like, I am not going to go to a hospital whatsoever, just like you know, at all.
And I like almost regret having a midwife. I don't regret it, but I didn't need her.
Yeah.
She did nothing. Nothing. Like, the only thing she brought with her was the pair of scissors that cut the umbilical cord. Yeah. Like, that's the only tool that she brought, other than her presence obviously was helpful, but like,
yeah, she grounded you. Yeah.
Yeah. And told me to sit this down.
Yeah. And it's going to blow people's minds. And then, you know, those that have a lot of fear around this are going to fucking have opinions. And I'm just going to be like, guys, this is, you should know me by now. This is what I'm doing. And like, my partner, even though he may like, I think he'll be like on board because he'll hear the courage of conviction in my voice saying, this is actually what's happening. But I think I'm going to fucking blow his mind too. And he's going to be watching me hang from a fucking tree, having his kids on the earth and be like, I had no idea. Like, you know, and it'll be one of those like cool things that it's like a new level of desire has been opened up because my fucking wife is hanging from a goddamn tree, having babies in the fucking grass, you know, here it is, you know, welcome to my world. Like, that's what it's going to be.
And he won't be something that somebody that's spiritually empty anyway. So he'll be like, I
don't think he'll be advanced. Like I am. I don't feel that. And I don't need him to be. I just need him to honor my crazy. And if he can just honor my crazy, everything will be, and he would only be able to be in my life if he did. Like, it's not like I'm going to sacrifice myself in a relationship. Fuck that bullshit. So people are like, why are you still
That's
single? I'm like, because I haven't met the guy and I don't need to settle for fucking anything. Right.
yeah,
This is just
yeah.
like, yeah.
And
So
Casey was kind of that for me too. Like he was like, you got it then, like do it.
yeah.
If it was like my son's dad, he would have been like, no the fuck you're not. Like get your ass to the hospital.
Yeah.
Like, and that would have, even though I'm not a submissive person at all, I would have been like, okay, you're right. Or whatever.
Yeah.
But Casey just like, the only thing I ask is if we have a midwife there, because what if
Yeah.
something crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to have that person for you, otherwise it'll crush everything.
And like it's going like there's some conversations I need to have at the beginning of our relationship to be like, these are the things. And some days it's going to be fucking hard to be with me because I'm going to activate the fuck out of you. You're going to have to deal with your shit, just like I'm going to have to deal with mine because you're going to bring in some other energy and I'm going to have to step up because you're going to hold a bar. Like I know he will. Like that's his job, is to help me, remember that potency inside of me too, because he's going to see it without me seeing it, so it's like anyways, crazy stuff. So we've dropped the medical system. I want to go into this real quick before we pop off, because I think we've covered like 500 million things and everyone's going to be like, yes, and so good. I know, so good. But you're now in this so obviously you're doing the alpha canine stuff, you're doing all the dog training, but you also opened up into understanding that the medical system and some of the tools they want us to be using are fucking toxic and bullshit and all the other things, like literally blocking us from actually feeling our intuition and all the stuff that they're doing. But you've created these product lines with the family that are open to this too. So tell us just a little bit about this process. Like why did you guys do this? What's happening with it all? And just, yeah.
It's really small still. My aunt is super connected to the earth, and she's always been more like my whole family is quote unquote conspiracy theorists. So none of this is like the spiritual shit and me speaking to dead people, they're like, get the fuck out of here. But when it comes to holistic healing and things like that, that's like, my grandma is like a witch doctor. Like you go to grandma when you're sick, you don't go to the hospital. But so we are doing like, I have created a line of like beef tallow balms, face oil, body oil, things like that. And I blend it with like essential oils. And sometimes I actually put dried herbs in the oils and let them steep with like, that's how I sell it, is like, you're getting this and the sages and like clearing everything for you as we, whatever. So we do that. My aunt grows calendula and I do like oregano oils, which is like a super powerhouse thing. But it's really new and it's fresh. And that's kind of my goal, is to shift into that, because then I can stay home and do that and homeschool my kids. Or I don't even, like you said, like it's not homeschool. Like I'm going to teach you how to read and write, and then you're going to go outside and do shit with your life. Yeah. Like
you're going to learn how to garden and grow stuff and make tinctures like this and heal your own body and like make food. Like when you're 7 years old, you could cook dinner, because like we don't live in this fear of like kids not fucking touching shit. Like we're actually going to experience life, and we'll go to the beach and talk about the molecular structure of the sand, and like, we'll have an experience and discover life. I get you.
So that's kind of like where I'm shifting towards, although I love my dog business and I know that I will hurt a ton of people like if I step out of this. And I don't think I'll ever step out of it fully. Like I'm launching the dog training coaching, like that's coming. But streamlining it so that I can do the things that fuel my heart, which is all of this holistic natural remedies, taking care of my babies at home. Like I'm sick of, we had our kids in private school and it's just as bad as public school. It's just as like liberal and whatever.
Well, especially in Washington.
Like, I literally
makes a lot of sense.
I said, I'll fucking kill you if you give my kid a COVID shot. And she looked at me in the eyes and was like, I'm not fucking kidding. I'll come here and kill you with my bare hands.
You stay away from my fucking children.
and I'm that parent, and I'm that parent. I step in as that for my stepkids too.
Yeah.
Like mom isn't strong enough or capable enough to do it, so I'm gonna do it. I'm calling the school saying, hey, you fucked up.
Yeah.
And please remember that you get paid because my kid is here. So yeah, but that's the goal, is to just kind of step into all of this and see where it goes. I don't know.
Love it.
Just letting it flow, because I don't have a plan.
And sometimes that's the best part, you know. So I think sometimes when we have such a structured plan, then we're working the plan instead of actually working within our own selves to connect in deeper. And then we're so attached to the outcome that we forget about stuff.
Yeah.
So we went all over the map in this fucking podcast, which is amazing. And I love Joe Rogan style. I love like just diving in. I love what comes through in our flows. Like it's all of it was imperative for someone, for some way, shape, or form. Someone needed to hear something that we said. So just grateful, Beth, for the time. But like, where do you want to leave people? Like what do you feel will close off this episode in whatever fashion, doesn't matter what, that you feel like just saying to the collective, to the earth, to the people listening?
Listen. That's like, stop thinking that these thoughts that are in your brain are just random. Listen to them, because they're not. Yeah. Intuition is, or whatever word you want to put to it, like you're being guided. You need to fucking listen. So,
well, I'll sneeze that out for everybody. Luckily I hit the mute button, but the truth coming through that. Yeah. So good. Powerful stuff, my friend. All your details will be in the show notes. So people want to connect with you. They want to chat maybe about this. They want to know about their dog. Like you're starting like a whole community. Like we'll make sure that they can connect into you. But I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for our connection. I'm grateful to watch our relationship bloom and whatever that means, because we don't know, you know? I will come visit. Like I'm coming to see you. Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Right. Like, fuck, let's go. Let's go. But grateful that you took the time to be here today. And I'm just, thanks for sharing from your heart as well. Yes, of course. So good. All right, everyone. We will see you guys in the next episode. So like I gave you guys at the beginning, we hit all different kinds of markers in this podcast, and we talked about all different kinds of things, from like the spiritual expansion side to the healing of the body, you know, all these different dynamics. And I'm just grateful that you guys were here. And just like always, I always ask you, you know, if something hit, if you were feeling something, you know, take a photo of this podcast, snap it, tag us on Instagram, help share it out in the world, send it to a friend, give us a review, whatever that feels like for you, because each person helping spread the message gets it out more into the collective. And I guarantee you there's someone in your life that may need to hear this, that there's something in it that maybe dropped, that you're like, oh my God, if that person knew this, then that might change something. And as you guys know, if you've been here a while, everything for me is all intuitive based. So if you are feeling it, this is a thing. So I just ask you again, share it out, tag us out, help us spread the word. And I'm just really grateful that you guys are here listening, expanding, you know, helping get the message out, and just being the beautiful souls and lights that you are. And I'll see you guys again soon.